What is up, guys, and welcome to another Bojan vlog. So, how you doing? In this entry, I wanted to extend on something I talked about last entry, right? So last entry, I talked very controversially about the path of being an artist, and also what Dr. Jordan Peterson of YouTube infamy, what his thoughts were, and then just kind of expanding what he said to kind of just balance basically his kind of more skeptical view, I guess, his more kind of critical view, with something that's a bit more encouraging and inspiring, right? But anyway, this entry is going to be an extension of that. Basically, along the journey of doing anything, particularly art, right? It's you have a challenge of kind of basically improving bit by bit. Right, you always have to be, like I said, you always have to be doing your art, and you always have to be improving, right? Like seeking out ways to improve, and initially you're kind of resistant to all of that, but eventually as pressure piles on you basically, and also just you start to kind of get better at your craft, and you start to see yourself more and more as someone who could do that as for a living, for example. Then you start to get more serious about I need to just keep expanding my horizons. Really, the way I look at it is you have to be, the way you approach it is you're true to yourself, in the sense that you're true to what your kind of purpose is, in purpose, and also your kind of default alignment or temperament, right? So for example, I'm a healer type, right? And so I want every single piece of art and every single message that I put out to be one of love and healing. And sometimes what I say is kind of a bit negative or dark, right? But I try and always bring it back to positivity and love, and that kind of thing, right? So if you're the same way, then basically that's at the center of your work, right? You have to make sure that is fulfilled every single time, right? And it's it's more of a feeling thing, particularly if you're an artist, than something you have to think about, right? It's something that's archetypical. It's not something that that you process based on the conditions of the time and the place. It's something that persists throughout the whole body of your work, right? So as an artist, as an entrepreneur, there's something that you're trying to do, there's an effect you're trying to have on people. And that's the thing that you want to stay true to every single thing that you do. However, the actual pieces of art that you make can be more explorative, in the form of you can explore with different styles. You can update your style, which is what I'm trying to do with my music, because I'm kind of a bit more old school, so I'm trying to kind of update my own palette to be more kind of modern, and I'm not doing it at the expense of my vision, right? So if you feel that it's at the expense of your vision, maybe you shouldn't do it, but eventually you'll get to a point where you've expanded your feeling of confidence enough, the way you're I can try to remix this. And that's the idea, right? As a creative person, you'll be doing a hell of a lot of remixing. That's a key fucking word if you're a creative person, right? Is remixing, right? You take things that are in the spotlight, and then you remix it, or things that are old that you want to revamp, right? It really depends which way you want to do it, right? It depends on the type of person you are, right? I'm more kind of old school, naturally, right? So I have to basically remix new stuff into my kind of more retro feel. But then but if you're more kind of cutting edge, maybe what you can do is you can remix old stuff to make it more modern, right? So as a source of ideas, right? So it's different ways of approaching it, right? Either you're kind of more old school, but you have good taste, and so what you need to do is take new elements and then basically incorporate them into your kind of strong sense of taste and style, so that you can basically be yourself but be relevant. But and if you're like more of the type that's like you're cutting edge and you like following the trends, but like you find it difficult to make stuff that's really meaningful, or like you need a source of ideas, then basically what you do is you can go to old stuff, right, and basically like take that stuff and remix it into like the cutting edge stuff that you're familiar with, right, if that makes sense, right? So what did I say about artists helping each other out in the but like anyway, so okay, so and really in this entry what I want to talk about is not exclusive to creativity, but like it ties into it, right? But basically, like along the journey, and this is going to be something that I carry on in future entries, right? Because like I think this kind of thing is important, right? It's like what like basically what you do when you feel shitty, you know? Because that's kind of, in case you didn't know, that's kind of like what's the focus of my, like what kind of like formed the basis of like my channel is like talking about feelings and like how to approach your feelings and stuff like that. And like sometimes when you, and it's something that like particularly if you're an artist, like you'll go through a lot, right? And so like it's like, how do you deal with like negative feelings? What do they mean? And sometimes you just want someone to like basically reflect back to you what you're feeling, if that makes sense, right? And that's why as artists, like we search, like it's like when we're in a bad mood, we'll put ourselves in an even worse mood because we're seeking out things like, am I just not a good artist? How hard is it? Really hard to succeed? Like, you know, you kind of validate your feelings, but you feel worse about it, right? So hopefully that's not my intention in my entry. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And like before I get into it, right, I also want to give a disclaimer, right? So like this entry is about jealousy and envy, right? You know, envy that you have towards people who are doing better than you, you know, whenever you feel jealous of other people's work, right? You know, because it does happen. And like the disclaimer I want to give is that like, I might discuss things that like are slightly controversial and like basically distasteful and ugly in this entry. And like, you know, that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but like, you know, basically I'm going to go into like what you tend to think when you're feeling jealous and envious. And like those things are just, I want those to be treated with like a degree of objectivity where like basically it's like the point is like you have to own the way you feel so that you can at least understand it and you know how to deal with it in a healthy way. Because like sometimes if you suppress, and when I say sometimes I mean most of the fucking time, if you're like suppressing, then like you eventually explode and it comes out in like a really pathological way and a way that you really didn't want to happen, right? So like, so you know, in a sense, like, you know, we have to kind of like, it's like a tango between like basically release or non-suppression and also like kind of like control in the sense of like channeling it into the right place, right? So the disclaimer is I might say a few things that are kind of a bit controversial, and like obviously I want to give the disclaimer that like these are not my views necessarily, but like, you know, it's just an illustration of the tendency, and of course as such, you know, I do feel these things, but like it's not my like kind of persistent view of the world or of other people, you know. When I say like I hate people, it's not that like I actually hate people. It's that like sometimes you just hate people and it's like a feeling, right? So I just want to make it clear that like whatever I say in these videos is like, it's not like my persistent view. I'll make it clear if it is, right? But like most of what I say in these videos is just like an illustration of like the type of thinking that you might engage in if you're in a certain state, right? So yeah, so I thought I would give that disclaimer first. But yeah, jealousy and envy basically. So like sometimes, you know, for whatever reason, right, you just feel jealous or envious. Like, you know, it applies to like, you know, if you're an artist, like when you see other people's work, you know, and you see people who are better than you, like particularly if like they're younger than you know, and things like that, and you get envious or jealous, right? And it happens to me, it's like recently, like for example, like I've looked into, oh sorry, let me guess if water's getting really hot here. H2, whoa. Okay, so like, yeah, because like I have a very specific kind of thing that I want to do, right? In terms of my music, right? So like I do music, right? And if you're curious, then like check out my music channel, which is Bojinjin Sounds, or you can go to my SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com/Bojinjin. But like I have a very specific style, in the sense that like there's a very specific feel to a lot of the stuff I make. And recently I've been kind of like branching out, you know, not only to kind of expand my own kind of repertoire, but also to kind of like see what else is out there, aka see what my competitors are doing, right? See like who else is doing the same thing I'm doing, right? And like I found a bunch of stuff, and like as I was listening to it, like my heart kind of sank, because I'm like, I thought I was the only one, you know, like, because like what I'm doing is kind of specific, right? It's kind of niche. It's not like mainstream. And so like I thought that like I would be providing something very like much needed in the market. But lo and behold, there are people who are already kind of doing, you know, some of these people have been doing it for years as well. And like they're already doing the kind of things I'm doing. And I'm like, I'm listening to this stuff and it's like, oh, you know, and it's like, and they have followers and stuff. And like I have fewer followers, and it's like, it's you know, it's a very sobering feeling, you know. You're just like, you know, like, shit, you know, like, why is this guy so, like, you're just like, well, the immediate reaction might be like that, like, I'm a piece of shit, because it's like, oh man, like, I'm so bad, like, you know, like, this is so good, I'm so bad, you know, like, oh, I've such a long way to go, and, you know, like, and you just feel terrible, but you're like, and sometimes you're just like kind of like, oh man, and you just feel deflated and you get depressed, right? Sometimes like you kind of listen to it and like, you know, and you try your best to connect with it, but like deep down you're kind of jealous, you know, because like this person is doing what you're doing, they've been doing it for longer, you know, and you almost feel like, particularly if you're like me and you're doing something a bit more niche, like you feel like they're taking your spot, and you just feel like really envious of them, like really jealous, right? And like, I know jealous and envy are different things, but like I use them interchangeably. Bite me. But like, yeah, and it's like, first thing I'll say is that it's okay to be jealous. And it sounds like I'm saying to you, it's okay to be jealous, it's just okay, everything's gonna be okay, right? But the reason I say it's okay to be jealous is because you feel jealous. Can you count the amount of times you've been jealous on one hand? On two hands? On your hands and your feet? No, because it's way more times than that, right? It's like, you've been jealous before, right? So like, you've been jealous, it happens, it is happening, and it will happen, right? So like, another way of saying this is, you can wish that you didn't feel jealous, but you will feel jealous, right? So like, that being said, you know, breathe it in, and be like, or do whatever you need to do, right? Say fuck you to this random Chinese guy who's telling you how to feel, because that might be something else you feel, right? Particularly if someone's telling you this, right? But just like, you know, fuck what I'm doing, and just go within, right? And like, feel the jealousy, or whatever it is you're feeling, right? And just stay with it, and notice how it suffocates you. Right? It's like you can't breathe. It's like you can't move. It's like nothing you do can ever be right, because like this terrible feeling is inside of you, you know. And it means you're terrible and you're a piece of fucking shit, right? Because like you can't like control this feeling you have. So why should I feel jealous of like someone who's just doing their thing, you know, and like diminish myself, you know? Does that mean I can't do better than them? Like, because that's another thought you might have, is like I can probably do better than them. Let's be honest, like we all feel that way. You know, we see someone doing something similar, or we see someone doing something better, and it's like, if it's really, this is the weird thing, right? If it's really If it's really, really beyond your like level of skill, like someone who's really masterful at what they do, then like you may not feel jealous because you're like, hey, like, you know, I'm gonna worship them instead because like they're just so good, right? But like if it's someone that's closer to you, right, then like you start to feel that jealousy, and like you start to have thoughts like, you know, I can do better than them, right? But then you start feeling guilty about thinking that, right? So you're like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a piece of fucking, right? And like basically it's this back and forth with you like basically judging yourself because you're feeling this way, and you're like, and you start thinking things like, you know, I'm better than this person, like I could probably do better than them, and like why am I thinking this? And then like they're not going to succeed anyway. Why am I thinking that, right? And you start having these dark thoughts. Right? You start having these dark thoughts, or like why, like you know, like I could probably do better than them, and like maybe like, you know, like I wonder if this person is even going to succeed, and like you know, huh, like they still haven't learned, and you start this is what another thing you do, you start picking out weaknesses in what that person is doing, right? And you're like all the time you're fucking like you're like trying to stab yourself because it's like, why am I thinking this? Why am I thinking this? Why am I such a fucking asshole right now? Why am I such a cunt to this? Why am I so jealous? And it's like, but the thing is like, so you're caught between this thing, and you're thinking of these things of like, you're trying to pick holes in that other person's heart, and you're like, I can do this better than them, and like, I wouldn't have done it this way, and you get really critical, right? And basically, that's what happens, like when you get jealous, right? And like, I'm not telling you this as someone who's like, hey, kid, do you know what it's like to be jealous? No? Then let me enlighten you, young boy. And it's like, or young girl, right? Young lass. No! I'm preaching to the choir because you already know what this feels like, right? I'm just like stupid enough to like express it on YouTube so that like maybe you might feel that like your feelings are at least seen or felt by someone else, right? Ego. Like, you know, but like that's how you feel. That's how you feel. It's like you start wishing, and it's not, you're not like, I wish this person fails, but like you start kind of picking at them. You start kind of like, you just like, you know, that's what jealousy is. You start kind of like not liking them, right? And like, you know, the most painful thing about jealousy and envy is like, you know, it's wrong to be jealous. You know, everyone knows it's wrong to be jealous. And in some ways it's due to societal conditioning, right? But like, the bottom line is, like, the worst thing, it's the same with anger, the same with any of these other emotions that like are kind of a bit taboo, right? Is you know that they're wrong and you shouldn't be having them, right? And like, in a sense, your instinct is to fucking stuff them down, but you kind of also know at the back of your mind that like, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. You can't stuff emotions down, right? You feel them, you know? Like people in the spiritual field know, I'm sure full well, what it's like to try and stuff down your emotions. It doesn't fucking work, right? Resistance, that's the official label for it. Resistance, whatever you resist persists, motherfucker. Have you seen The Secret? You know, like, you know, have you watched any like, you know, Abraham, you know, like Hicks, you know, have you like, like, you know, it doesn't work, right? You know, it's like, but at the same time, it's fucking, like, it's like the worst shit ever, right? So like, what do you do, right? First of all, it's okay, right? It's okay to feel jealous. We all feel jealous, right? And like, it's normal to be jealous, and jealousy normally leads to you kind of like resenting the other person, and like not necessarily wishing that they failed, but wishing that they were taken down a peg so that they matched you, right? You know, so that they could be at your level, right? Because if you're jealous of someone, you're perceiving, usually like it's pretty accurate, like you're perceiving that they're like just a bit above you, right? And like but not so within your grasp that you can just get there, but like they're just beyond your grasp, but they're close enough to you for you to be like, fuck this person, you know, just like, what, and you're like, why did I say that? Right, and it's like this internal struggle, right? First of all, it's okay to be jealous, right? It's actually a good sign, right? It's a sign that you care, as corny as that sounds. It's a sign that that this thing is important to you. It's a sign that like you want to stand up for yourself, basically, right? Because like another way of viewing jealousy, aside from like, you know, like you hating the other person or resenting the other person, is that like you're disappointed with yourself, right? You're disappointed, and you're just like, based on what you've learned, like you don't like yourself that much anymore, because like you're like, I'm not as good as I thought I was. And not only am I not as good as I thought I was, now I see fit to kind of feel in such a way that like pushes me to like basically demean the other person. And it's just like, you know, but like if you step back from it from a moment, right? And I don't mean like suppress it, but I mean like if you just think about it, it's like maybe it means also that like maybe it doesn't necessarily mean that you want the other person to fail. Maybe it means that you just learned something, and it's painful, and you have these weird thoughts that are kind of taboo, but like it also means that like, hey, you're moving in the right direction, because you had to see what you had to see, right? You had to see this person that was better than you, right? That's been working on this longer than you. You had to see it. And now that you've seen it, you can see it again, right? And even from a more like, I guess, competitive mindset, it's like, well, once you've seen it, you're like, okay, I'm starting to get what this person's doing, so I can learn from them, right? Extract from them like their techniques, right? And the thing is, like, they can do the same to you too, right? But like, the thing is, like, you like, once you stabilize, you start to see what the person's about. Like that feeling of jealousy just like starts to diminish, right? You know, because like you're familiarizing yourself with their work, and you see the link between you and them, and you also like, the funny thing is that like when you start picking apart their weaknesses, you see their weaknesses, right? And that kind of weirdly makes you feel better, right? So like, you know. And then like, so you go through all of this, and you think through. You think, okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling this. What does that mean? It means that like I see all of these mistakes that this person is making. I kind of want them to be brought down to my level, you know, blah blah blah, right? And then from there, what does that mean? Like, you know, what does that give me, right? What am I doing? Let me reference it against myself, right? Okay, like, so what am I doing? Like, where have I been fucking up? You know. Like that this person's work made painfully obvious to me. Where am I fucking up? Where am I fucking up? But then where am I also succeeding? And where is that person succeeding? And so like, not only do you build a map of like their shortcomings and then your shortcomings, right? But then also like where you are succeeding and where they are succeeding, right? And then like, as you are slowly brought up by those two things, you start to bridge the gap between like, okay, like this person, like, for example, like they mix better than me. My mixes are shit. Like my mixes are really muddy, or like they use better drum sounds than me. Huh, what's this drum sound? Oh, okay, I hear this drum sound. Maybe I should make a note of this. Like, this is a really good drum sound. Maybe I can recreate it on my own, right? And then you start to like see, you know, like the things you can learn from that person, right? But simultaneously, you can see like, you start to appreciate them, right? When you connect in such a way. And like, because like, but like, you can only start to appreciate them once you've gone through that jealousy, because that jealousy points you to like your own shortcomings, right? Because you, like I say, your immediate response is to feel like a piece of shit, and also like their shortcomings, because then like, as you feel like a piece of shit, you're trying to keep yourself there, but your ego is like glancing over at them like daggers, like, oh, but they're not so good at this. Oh, but they're not so good at this. Right? And you do that, and then slowly you start to piece together, and you start to build that bridge between you, and you might not even know that person. Like, to be honest, like I just followed a few people on SoundCloud, right? I haven't talked to them yet, right? But it's like, I'm already connecting to their like work, right? I'm connecting to their work, and I'm I'm connecting to their work, and like it's making me feel better of myself because I'm learning, like I'm like kind of like coming to terms with what my shortcomings are. I'm coming to terms with what their shortcomings are, but I'm also coming to terms with what my value is and what their value is, right? And then like I start to see the bridge between me and them, right? Not only in terms of technique and skill, but also in terms of work, right? Because you will always, if you're serious about your art, or if you're serious about whatever it is you're doing, you will always see that the foundation of everything that's good about what you've done is your work, what you've done, right? Because you have worked. You may not work consistently, right? Very few artists do, myself included, right? Like I try to work every day, but do I work at the same time every day? No. Sometimes do I even work at all? No. I fucking procrastinate, right? But it's like, you do the work, and it shows, and you're like, okay, I've done the work, I will do the work, particularly now that this jealousy has motivated me, right? Once you've accepted the jealousy and you've moved past it, you start to feel the motivation, because you're like, okay. One, like, I may not feel terrific right now, but one thing I can do is I can work more, right? And I can work more, and then like, where am I falling short, right? Okay, like, I'm gonna have to do those things, right? I might have to reach out more. I might have to be more experimental, right? Look, when I checked out all of these competitors, like I realized I had to update my sound, because honestly, like I wasn't even that concerned before. Like I'm just making stuff like whatever, right? But like now I'm like, oh god, if this is like what my competitors are doing, I need to upgrade my sound, right? And like maybe if I upgrade my sound, my music is going to improve, and maybe it's going to be fun along the way because I can learn stuff. Like I'm the type of person who's old school, and I kind of get like conjoined with all of like my interests, which are kind of very limited, but like traditionally speaking, like maybe I have Asperger's, right? You know, I did an entry about that. If you haven't seen it, then like you might be in for a laugh, right? But like I think it's like 2 entries ago or 3 entries ago, I forget. But like, yeah, like. You'll lose your train of thought then, because that's why. No, what was I saying? Yeah, like you will. So I followed these artists, and it's like, yeah, I realized, and it's just like you just expand yourself, and like as you keep working, like you get better at 2 things. You get better at being you. Right, because that's super important, like I mentioned at the beginning of this entry. You have to find what you is, right? You're not trying to become the next smash hit producer or whatever, right? The next big artist, right, that everyone looks up to. Not necessarily, right? Because that is honestly, and this doesn't mean it's wrong, but like it's honestly like an excuse, I guess. An excuse, or not really an excuse, because it's not a conscious thing. It's like a defense, right? It's a defense that needs to be pushed aside so that you can once again be reunited with what you love, with who you are, right? Because the minute, like, and it'll happen basically. You'll get defensive, and you're like, okay, I need to improve myself, and I need to sound more modern. I need to look more modern. I need to be more like this artist. I need to be more like this person, right? And it's like, you will go through that, but then eventually, like, you know, you will, like, yourself will eventually break through. Like when you have like kind of like an ego death, I guess. Like, and it will happen as an artist. Like you'll have these moments where like you like just like you're so stressed and you're so blocked, but like eventually like something breaks through, and you're just like, you know what? Why am I stressing so much? You know, like why did I get into art in the first place? I got into art because I want to make beautiful art, and I want to express myself authentically, and I know what I like. Okay, I've spent the last month or few months trying to like improve my sound, and I've learned a thing or two. But I think it's time for me to like not be like, you know, because that shit can distract you basically. It slowly starts to distract you more and more, and then you get back to the core sound, right? Of what you're trying to do, right? So that's one thing. It's like you get better at like being you and making stuff that's representative of you, right? Your style. This is what people call your style, your sound if you're a musician. you know, that will start to like develop more and more as you just basically carry on your journey as an artist, right? Learning new stuff, like getting bogged down in like defensive thinking, like, you know, I need to be more like this person so I can be more successful. And then you realize it's not you at all. So like you recalibrate and you take what you've learned and you kind of incorporate that into like your core. And then you do it again, you know, it happens again, you fall off again, you know, it's the journey, right? And then my phone will die. Fuck, I need to get a new mic. I apologize. Like, it's happening so often now. I need to get it. Like, I'm using my iPhone. It's like iPhone 3GS. I need to get a new fucking thing. But like, yeah. So that's one thing, is you'll get better at like being yourself. The second thing is like you will expand your repertoire. You will expand your skills. You will expand not only what you can do within your craft, but also like what you can do as a creative person. Because you'll realize, like, as a creative person, you already know that you have like a shit ton of interests, right? It's like you're interested in so many fucking things that sometimes it's like it's hard to keep track of them. Like, I only recently, like, and by recently I mean like in the past few years, like identified spirituality or slash personal development, gaming, music, you know, as my three primary like interests, right? Before that, but like that's not even representative of everything I'm interested in. I'm interested in so much more, right? I'm interested in like, you know, human dynamics. I'm interested in like science, you know. I'm interested in like weird shit on the internet, like, you know, sometimes that you see, you know. I'm interested in a lot of stuff, right? And it's like, you're probably the same as a creative, right? So like what you learn is like, as you gain mastery in one area, like your self comes through, and that self becomes a new entity that starts to inform like everything else you do, and then you start to like expand yourself, right? So this is like similar to my idea of like how love is first and foremost something you find in the things that you love, right? So like if you're someone who like is trapped, and you're hearing me talking about being an artist and following your heart, and you're like, I wish I could do that, you know, but I fucking can't because I like my parents won't let me, or like I'm stuck in this situation. I have kids, you know, like I've been doing this for a long time and I'm just scared of failing. It's like I'm too afraid, you know. Okay, but like, you know, and like I hope in that situation that like you will find, because if you're watching this, you're probably already like building the momentum towards like a life you love anyway. It's like, it's just, I don't know what to say. Like I'm sorry, you know, in the sense that like, you know, yeah, it kind of sucks to put anyone who's in that situation probably like takes what I say with quite a bit of pain, because it's like it's such a contrast to what they live, right, to how you're living. Like, so it's okay to feel pain and upset like when you listen to what I say, right? But like, since you're already watching this, you're probably already pushing in that direction anyway, right? So I would encourage you to like listen to more things like listen to more of my videos, and also other people that you may also know, and just like break something within your life that's easy to break. Like for me, like my first thing was to start journaling, right? I kept a diary from like 2010 to 2014 or 2013, and then at that point I started like speaking. I started doing like oral voice diary entries, right? And that's become my new favorite medium to like record my thoughts and stuff like that. And like eventually your confidence will grow, and you'll start to like connect with the things that interest you and the things that you're passionate about. And then from there it just grows and grows and grows and grows, right? And along the way you'll meet like fucking demons, like jealousy, like despair, like hatred, like lack of motivation, you know, like basically thinking that your work is shit, thinking that you're a piece of shit, you know, thinking that no one likes you, thinking that like no one understands you, you know, and like wondering if like this was the right choice after all. You'll have times like that. You'll be like, oh, why, like this is fucked. This is fucked. Like, this is fucked. You know, I fucked myself over. You know, I have fucked myself over doing this. But like, and you'll go through those, right? But like, eventually, they'll resolve, right? as long as you keep going, right? And you have the tools, right? Watch my videos, watch other people's videos, make your own tools, right? The more that you do it, like the better you'll get at it, right? Like the better you'll be at, like, basically putting yourself back to square one when you've been set back, right? And that's the journey. As you fuck up, the genesis of the journey is you realizing what you want, right? And what you want may not be as defined as, like, what I say, like, you know, I'm going to be a musician and this, but like, you might have an inkling. It could be something like that, you know, I want to be like an entrepreneur, right? But like, you then go through the process of like expanding your awareness and expanding your range of knowledge and expanding kind of like pushing more and more to being courageous enough to like engage with what you like, particularly if you like things that like weren't appreciated by the people in your life, like when you grew up, right? And then you just do that, and then eventually like things happen and you get depressed, and like you're like, but then how do I make money, and how do I do this? Like, how do I, like, what should I do about my friends who don't appreciate what I do? Should I get rid of them? You know, what about my partner? What about my family? You know, and all these problems, right? But like, you'll find a way, right? When you're down and out and you're walking along the street with your head down because you're just so fucking depressed, you don't know what to do, like, something will click, right? Believe me, if you're a creative person in particular, like, this will happen all the time. It's like, you're fucking depressed out of your fucking mind. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so numb. Like, nothing I do is good. Like, you know, it's like, I don't see how I'm going to succeed. And this random Chinese guy is like preaching at me. I don't even know how I ended up in this weird part of YouTube. Like, why do I do this shit? Right? And then you go out for a walk, and then your head's down, and you're just like so groggy, and like you're like, oh man, I haven't eaten, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I'm fucked. Ah, you know, I don't even have the energy to do that. I'm just like fucking, I don't know, right? And then something will click. It happens all the time. Maybe not that day, maybe tomorrow, maybe the week after. Something will fucking click, and you'll be like, whoa, oh, okay, maybe I was a bit hasty there. Every time you're like, maybe I was a bit hasty there. Maybe I can do this, right? And that's what happens, right? So, that's my entry. Oh boy, it's, sorry, let me get a swig of water. So I kind of diverged from like the central topic of this entry a bit towards the end, but like, yeah, it's like jealousy is really the same as everything. I'll talk about other things as well, like other emotions and things like that, and how to deal with them. But like, in summary, right, jealousy and envy are very much disgusting. They are fucking disgusting, right? I get disgusted by envy and jealousy all the fucking time. You know, it's just like one of the most unpleasant feelings you will have, right? And it threatens everything about you. Your sense of security, your sense of identity, your sense of everything, right? Your sense of like, just everything about you. Like, it just feels like so threatening, right? However, go through it. Like, take a step back, don't turn away from it, but just take a step back, right? And let it run its course. And then like you're switching from judgment to like unconscious thoughts. Make that an aware process, because that shit, believe it or not, happens without you even realizing it. But like, what you can do, and this is really the secret of spirituality, right? It's really all shadow work, right? Or like, you know, emotion work. Like, your goal is to become aware, right? And like, once you become aware, you can start to like understand it and then start to channel it, right? So one way you could do that is to make a vlog on YouTube. Or another way you could do that is to make a piece of art, let's say, right? Or you can go out and dancing and get drunk, right? Which is probably not the most like, you know, productive way of handling, but like, you will eventually find a way to handle it, right? But it's never going to go away. But that's why, like, people like me can talk about shit like this, right? But it does get better in the sense that like the feeling will never go away of like jealousy and envy and stuff like that, and like anger and stuff like that. But like you will, as you mature, you'll become better at handling them, particularly as you get more serious about what it is you're doing, right? Because then like if you're serious, it's like, had I, like, you know, if I had the idea, like, and I did, right, like 10 years ago, like, I'm going to make music, and then I accidentally stumbled on someone who's, like, doing, like, amazing music that I thought was only unique to me, I would be destroyed, right? I wouldn't want to touch music for the next year, right? But now, it happens, and, like, I'm actually, like, the thing is, you can be proactive about it. That's the next step, is, like, it's like you realize that like it's just something that happens, and it's not something that's going to destroy you, and it's just something. It's like the same as, you know, and it sounds a bit detached, I guess, because it is, right? It's the same as like putting money in your bank, you know, or doing your taxes. It's just something you do, and then the quicker you do it, and this is the mark of maturity, I think. You know, like I think like as a kid I never understood this, but I now understood it. When my parents said like, get it over with. That as a kid is devastating because it means you have to like fucking like you have to like stop playing and do something that's shitty, right? But as an adult, like you're like, well, I'm gonna do this shit anyway. I'm gonna have to do it anyway. So like let's get it over with, right? So what you do is like you start proactively seeking people that are better than you, right? And this is the beginning of like, you know, you starting on a journey to improving yourself and like to getting involved in the community and stuff like that. Believe me, this is a very recent thing for me, right? A few months ago, I would have been like, yeah, I know about that. Yep, I've heard that. Yeah, no, don't worry, I know about that. I know finding mentor. Yeah, okay. But like, but inside, I'm like, fuck no. I wouldn't admit it to myself, but I was like, fuck no, I don't want to find a mentor. Fuck no, right? But now it's like, okay, I guess I have to find a mentor in the form of like, let's see what other people in my sector are doing. Let's see how they're better than me. Let's see how I'm shitty. Let's see how they're shitty. You know, let's connect for once, right? And so it's okay to feel jealous and to feel envy, you know, but it's also not okay. It really depends on how you feel. So I hope that makes that puts you into your feelings, right? Fuck this guy, right, talking to me right now. How do I feel? Do I feel like jealousy is good, or do I feel it's bad, right? And then like, okay, that's how it is. But then in the next instance, maybe it's the opposite, and it probably will be, right? Because guess what? Like right now, I feel like a piece of shit because jealousy is disgusting. You know, and I'm a piece of shit, and they're a piece of shit, and everything's a piece of shit, right? But then the next moment, maybe, okay. But now I'm starting to see how, like, how the dynamic is working, and how, like, how they're making me jealous, and how, like, maybe I could bridge the gap, and how, like, this actually makes me more, like, human in a sense. Because, like, usually I would try and suppress jealousy, but, like, it's human to be jealous. Everyone gets jealous, right? It's how you react to it, you know? It's like, you can use, like, it's a charge. It's the same as anger, you know. I'm probably going to do an entry on anger eventually. Like, it's going to be very loud, but, like, hopefully, with any luck, right, it's going to be loud and entertaining. But, like, really, at the end of the day, it's a charge, right? It's a very uncomfortable charge, but it's a charge, right? And, like, you can actually direct that charge away from hating yourself and hating the other person, and then hating yourself and hating the other person, to like being like, okay, let's do some work then, you know, or like let's like maybe try and transform this. When you get better at like emotional work and stuff like that, you can kind of jump between energetic states and just to try it on, right? It's kind of inauthentic, it's kind of resistant, right? But what you do is like you jump to like a positive state, right? So like you go like, no, jealousy is a charge that motivates myself to work more, right? Because it's showing me how like inadequate I am, but it also gives me the gift of like seeing the weaknesses within myself and the other person, and that gives me more information for me to like then course correct myself to move in a better direction, right? As long as I keep working, I'll be fine. This is like just this is a nice signal from the universe to tell me like which direction to go and to maybe go just a bit faster or whatever, right? And then see how that feels. initially it might feel terrible because like you're basically saying stuff you're not actually believing it, right? You don't feel that way. You're just forcing yourself to say it, right? But eventually, like, you can kind of straddle those two things, right? And kind of switch between them. And then like that becomes like a tactic for you to make the most out of the times you're jealous, right? Really, that's all I got for you. You know, I could keep talking about this, but like, I hope my point is clear. I don't want to make this entry any longer than it is. I was actually planning on doing a few more entries after this one, like, you know, in the same recording session, but you know, it's already getting late. I'm hungry and thirsty and I'm hot, so I'm getting out of here. So yeah, I hope that was insightful. You know, if you have any questions or like any thoughts, then feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like I mentioned, I do music. Bojinjin Sounds is my channel. Check me out. I do streams and shit like that, you know. Say hi, maybe, I don't know. I don't know, whatever you want. And yeah, I also do a gaming channel as well. I do Let's Plays, but yeah. Cool. So anyway. Fuck. Until next time, guys, I will catch you, and hope that you will, you know, continue to do what you do. You know, keep going. Seriously, keep going. If the sun is not out already, which it is right here, like if it's not out already, it'll come out at some point. You know. And then there are times when you need to like experiment a bit, but like it's a step-by-step process, and you'll get there. Just keep going. You know, seriously, keep going. Believe in your art. Believe in your heart. And have a fart. Fuck. Okay. Anyway, I'm getting a bit delirious, as you can tell. So, until next time, guys. Stay safe. And stay, what was it? Stay safe, stay healthy, stay passionate, and stay you. I don't know, maybe that's going to be my new catchphrase, I don't fucking know. It's kind of lame, but whatever. It's kind of a bit insipid and unoriginal, but whatever. Okay, I'm going to go now. Peace out, guys. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye. Yeah! Bye-bye now.